Okay, welcome to Into the Channel podcast, primarily about women's football. Before we hit the pitch, if you enjoy the show or love women's football, the International Break Edition, as much as your boys do, kick it with us already. We're doing this every single week, sometimes twice a week. This week, twice a week. You already know what time it is. Subscribe or follow YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you like to watch or listen. At ITC_pod on X, at Into the Channel pod on Threads. We're back on Threads, baby. We're here. IG, we'll get you the IG link here in a minute. I am your host, Dino DeCespedes, and as always, I am joined by my co-host, Mr. Grant Engel. What is up, man?
Feeling fantastic, buddy. Fresh off a victory for one squad. That's pretty important to us. I see you repping. There was another match on Friday. Result didn't quite go my way, but it's okay. We drink a celebratory beer, and we enjoy the festivities related to that.
Oh, nice touch there. I like that.
Yeah, well, thank you very much. What you got over there?
I got the old plain Jane Florida Man double IPA.
For this, Florida Man.
For this Sunday afternoon.
There we go. Be careful with that.
Cheers.
Cheers to you, my good man. So you watch any interesting matches yesterday?
I did. I got fired up for, I think we can say it, the beginning of the Emma Hayes era.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing I was fired up for, I mean, we talked about this last week a bit. What were the lineups going to look like? And I had a little fun going back to our USWNT Paris 2024 Olympics roster draft. Go watch that video if you haven't already. Turns out, buddy, we nailed 9 of the 11. And one of the ones we missed was Alyssa Nair. So
okay, built-in excuse there.
Yep. So I'm counting that as 9 out of 10. But we've got back channels to Coach Hayes, so maybe it's a little bit of a cheat code for us. But yeah, the only one we missed, we had Shaw in the lineup. Turns out, so Sophie Smith was the one who got the look to get it started. But I don't know. I'm kind of feeling like we're on a little USWNT wavelength out here.
Okay, that's good to hear. I think you could also make the argument, obviously, because of current form, Sophie Smith has looked incredible in the NWSL, and Jaden Shaw has had a little bit of a nagging injury. So, I think we got a little excuse there, too. So, 9 out of 11 with one clear-cut injury replacement. I'd say your boys were pretty on it so far. I didn't even realize that.
Yeah, we were on it. We'll see what the roster ends up looking like. I want to start there, actually. I don't think there was a lot of surprises around the starters.
Yeah.
But when you look at, let me rewind a little bit. Only 18 are going to get to go to Paris.
Yep.
Let's assume it's 2 goalkeepers, 16 field players. 16 field players made appearances in this match against South Korea that the U.S. won 4-0. So we've got the 10 starters, and here's who came off the bench. Casey Kruger, Crystal Dunn, Rose Lavelle, Jaden Shaw, Corbin Albert, and Sam Staub. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure if Emma Hayes wanted to get a look at the starters and then say, okay, let's see of the bench what we're going to be looking at. Yeah. Obviously, some key players didn't get into the game. Alex Morgan, Lily Johannes, Emily Sonnet, Hal Hirschfeld, Corey Bethune with a little bit of an asterisk. But I think going to be tough choices. Did you think that those subs maybe tipped Coach Hayes' hand a little bit on who we might see heading out to Paris?
That's why I like doing this show with you, buddy. I did not consider that in real time. But yeah, I think that would make sense, right? I mean, this is part of the buildup to prepare for how are we going to win this major tournament. Well, one of the things that Emma Hayes said as she's stepping off the podium for the last time at Chelsea is, I got to figure out a way to fucking beat Spain now. Or something to that effect. I don't think that's a direct quote, but it's very close. So yeah, if you're in her spot, you bring on Kruger right after halftime. I thought that was a really interesting sub for Fox. I didn't see any updates. I don't know if Emily Fox picked up a knock or anything like that. But yeah, you're gonna play Dunn. I think we're gonna talk about Rose Lavelle specifically later. I think a lot of folks truly believe that Corbin Albert has a spot in this side. Sam Staub, I talked about just based on form, like with Sophie Smith, you have to put her in. Obviously, her resume speaks for itself. But based on current form, I think Emma Hayes probably looks at Sam Staub and goes, okay, this is a player I really have to take a serious look at. So that's a great call out by you. I think it could tip her hand a little bit, or at least it tips her hand that she is very obviously assessing all these things. And this was her first batch of, okay, let me get a look at these players first.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think Sam Staub, a little bit of a surprise in terms of being named to the roster. But, You think about a Spain, you think about a Germany who look good in Euro qualifiers this weekend as well. France, obviously, you saw them firsthand.
I did.
I can see Sam Staub definitely making this roster.
Oh, yeah.
Because I think, like you look at a player like Jenna Neiswanger, who was very effective in the game, but she's essentially an offensive player, like in the left back spot, which is great. But I think against some of these teams, in some of these moments, maybe you nick a little 1-0 lead or a little 2-1 lead, and you want to kind of switch things up and maybe be a little bit more defensive. I think Staub's a great, great option there. Obviously, in her athletic prime and playing really, really well at WSL.
Yeah.
That shrinks the pool a little further.
It does.
I think it's going to be a little tricky. The other thing I thought about, Alex Morgan. So I texted you this. Let me just double check this. She did not make our final 18 in our roster draft.
No.
Maybe a couple weeks after that, I texted you. I was like, Alex Morgan, obviously certified legend, 223 caps, 123 goals, 53 assists, won everything.
Pretty good.
No arguments there. But my question was, should Alex Morgan get the LeBron, Kobe, Team USA treatment where it's just like, all right, that's one spot. Now, I'm not going to kick it to you just yet. First off, watching these 4 offensive players that Hayes started, Smith, Rodman, Macario, Swanson. First off, holy shit. we'll get into them a little bit later. And then Jaden Shaw is a 5th attacking player.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, if Morgan doesn't get in, and I'm not sure kind of like where she's at health-wise in either of these South Korea matches, now it's a little bit risky thinking about, okay, is she going to be one of those names coming to Paris? Where do you land on this?
Man, I've been thinking about this ever since we texted about it. You mentioned them. Morgan's numbers, they speak for themselves. 123 goals, 53 assists, absolute stone cold legend. I think what comes along with that is that a lot of these young players idolize her. You've heard them talk about it in press conferences and post-match appearances. I get to play with Alex Morgan. Like, she is a popular figure in the squad. We talked about it at press conferences. Horan goes up there with the captain's armband, and Morgan's still sitting right next to her because she's the elder statesperson. She's right there. But then you talk about the numbers game too, and there are 18 spots on the roster. And if you want the most attacking type players up there, and who can give you a little more flexibility than maybe what Morgan is able to give you at this stage in her career, it's a real discussion of what do you value more. And not even to say all Alex Morgan is going to bring is vibes and leadership. She can still go. She can still play. We've seen her play well recently in some of these international competitions, and certainly for the wave in spots. But when it's time to beat the Spains, France's, Germany's, England's of the world, not England in this Olympics, but whatever.
Talk about that one later.
I digress. But yeah, when it comes time to beat those elite squads, you need pace and you need to be able to stretch the field. And I'm not so sure Morgan offers that right now.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, I think the one place where might be interesting, maybe there's a spot for her, for more of a set piece type attack against South Korea. I think set pieces may be one of the highlights.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think Morgan is good on set pieces. We know she's an aerial threat, and I'm totally with you. The States looked really good against South Korea. Now, they had a bit of a size advantage. Obviously, goal-scoring machine, as she's often considered, Tierna Davidson, nets a brace, off of 2 set pieces. The delivery on the first set piece from Macario is a laser right onto Davidson's forehead. So that's a great look, seeing Macario take those corners. She's very clearly a tactician when it comes to spotting who's making the run and delivering it perfectly. I think that is probably the best argument for Morgan is, hey, can you give us 20 at the end of a match? And I thought about it, in World Cup 2015, Abby Wambach played that role. In World Cup 2019, Carly Lloyd played that role. If that is what you kind of graduate Morgan into, of like, hey, look, I cannot pencil you into the starting lineup. You're probably at no point, unless something happens or unless we really like the look, where you're probably not getting 70 in any of these matches. But can you give me 20? Can you give me 30 in maybe a difficult spot? I think that's the argument for it. But as far as the set pieces go, looked real organized, looked real sharp, looked real intentional against South Korea yesterday.
Yeah, and I think thinking about World Cup 2023, where the USA struggled, didn't quite have the talent or the sharp shooting
Yeah.
to get the ball to Morgan like we saw Macario able to get it to Tierna Davidson. So obviously Macario not on that World Cup team, Swanson not on that World Cup team. Not the same. I wanted to give a quick shout out to Sophia Smith.
Yeah.
So we talked about the form. Obviously she was on our bench for after our roster draft. She gets the start over Jaden Shaw if you're juxtaposing our lineup, our little rinky-dink lineup with Which real lineup against obviously. South Korea. I thought Sophia Smith was awesome. And I think a leaf that she turned over in the NWSL, let me pick my head up, let's see what's out here, and let me just, the same way I would fire one in, top corner, upper 90, like let me try to hit this pass with the same level of timing, accuracy, precision. She's able to do that, find Swanson to kind of open things up. And then even with the second goal, she gets a key interception, turns into a Lindsey Horan chance that becomes the corner, that becomes the Macario to Davidson, 1-2 for the second goal. Mm-hmm. I mean, I just really love the way Sophie Smith is playing, essentially just playmaking, creating, being dangerous. Like she drew a good amount of gravity on that play with like a little cutback away from goal to kind of open up a little space for cutting Mal Swanson. Yep. And just so smart. I think we've seen her honestly grow up a lot since the World Cup. And maybe that's even being unfair, but she's embracing a new part of her game in a huge, huge way, and massive dividends it's paying.
Yeah. We've seen her as the NWSL MVP. We've seen her NWSL Golden Boot winner multiple times at this point. But I think you're right. This little piece that she can lean into a little more with the playmaking on that opening goal, you know how you and I always love to give one more little step rewind. The ball from Germa into Smith was pretty audacious. Like it was a long pass, probably like a 20-yard pass into a little bit of traffic. And Smith knows how to make the exact perfect turn. And in some spots, and I feel like in that 2023 World Cup, which you alluded to, in some spots you see Smith there go, let me get it over here, and I'm going to try to cut back and then rip the shot myself.
Yep, head down.
Exactly. It was perfect control. And the pass over to a darting Swanson is just perfectly weighted for Swanson to get onto and fire at the goal. And not only is Sophie Smith doing that a huge benefit to unlock a lot of things, but when she is doing that, and it's to Mallory Swanson, now we're really in business because Swanson, she's got her finishing boots on every match pretty much.
100%. Yeah, I mean, it was also pretty creative, right? Like, it was just like, all right, let me little dance out and then back in, 2 steps ahead of that South Korea defense. Oh, yeah. And I'm glad you brought up Naomi Girma too. She's definitely for this U.S. women's national team playing that. Obviously, we just watched Barcelona. She's playing that Kira Walsh role, just not from the midfield as a center back, just like initiating everything. It's like, all right, ping here, bam, bam, and then just kind of get everything in motion. Her game is so clean, so crisp. Defensively, she's just always on point. She's just a special, special player. I love that she got the armband when Horan comes off.
First time captaining the squad in a national team match, from what I understood. 23 years old, man. One of the smartest players on the pitch every match she plays in.
Yeah.
She's the natural captain in waiting on this squad. I don't even know who the close second place is for that role. On a team with a lot of great players, just her steadiness, her decision-making, everything that you're talking about, kind of helping orchestrate the offense, that is a perfect player you want for your team captain.
Absolutely. And she had a great game.
Right.
Let's work our way into the midfield a little bit. We mentioned those 4 players up top, Macario, Smith, Rodman, and Swanson. That maybe nudged Lindsey Horan a little bit deeper, which I was kind of into, and then that kind of gives Coffey and Horan a little bit of chance to, win balls, make a pass, make a little run. What did you see specifically with those 2 in the midfield?
Absolutely love that look from this squad. I love a good 4-2-3-1 formation, and to have your 2 be Sam Coffey and Lindsey Horan. Again, I know I just mentioned it with Girma, but 2 of your other smartest players on the field. Mm-hmm. It really, you got geniuses all over the squad for USA. But Coffey and Horan, Coffey is very, very comfortable in that defensive midfielder spot. Tenacious, she wins balls, she wins duels. She's standing in the right spot to get interceptions to kind of clean up loose passes from the other squad. Mm-hmm. And Horan, just in her experience over at Lyon, where she's doing exactly what you're talking about, where she's like, okay, this is my turn. I'm gonna make this run. and they tend to be well timed. But she's also disciplined enough to, stay back and make sure she's kind of doing that dirty work, frankly, in the midfield to win it for her players up forward. And I believe, and we could maybe work with the magic of editing here, but I believe Haran was among the most traveled players, if you will, in the UEFA Women's Champions League. I think she logged around the most kilometers in the tournament. And we're back. Yes, I nailed it. Lindsey Horan, 56.8 kilometers covered throughout the course of the UEFA Women's Champions League. That's some good cardio, but she's not out there just getting cardio. She's out there bossing a lot of these matches.
Yeah, and I think against some of those attacking midfields, thinking about Spain here specifically,
yep,
love to have her a little deeper, just kind of mixing it up with those midfielders. And like I said, I think Coffey's great at this too, turning defense into offense really, really quickly. Obviously, both of those players are excellent at that specific skill. Haran probably a little bit more offensive minded, which is great to have. But obviously, she's got the physicality, she's got the smarts, she's got the toughness, she's got the cardio. To your point, right. So I really, really appreciated that setup. I've mentioned it a couple times just because I was enchanted by it. Those four up top, the 3-1 of the 4-2-3-1. First of all, when I saw the lineup, I was fucking. I was thrilled. I was just like, what is this going to look like? And it looked as exciting as I was expecting, like with regard to creativity, where the attacks are coming from. I'm going to rewind again to the 2023 World Cup. Basically, I'll always remember that as the let's get Alex Morgan the ball World Cup. And Sophia Smith, it's like, all right, well, just relax. We'll get to you, Trinity Rodman. We'll get to you. Let's see what Alex has got. This, the complete opposite, 180 degrees. The attacks coming from everywhere. Obviously, we mentioned getting initiated from the midfield. A nice Swanger doing a lot of initiating as well.
Yeah.
And then any combination of those four players, sometimes Haran leaking up to take part as well, just created a lot of unpredictability, which I was just in awe of. I think I was just like kind of been waiting for this for a good minute here. What did you think of the U.S. attack? How did you experience it?
I really liked that early on. It was, let's get the ball out on the right wing to Trinity Rodman. Let's try that look a few times. You can go to that well and be like, okay, there's a good chance that we're going to have some success here with her speed and strength, her ability to get to the end line and playing crosses. And she did that. And then exactly to your point, that interplay between Coffey, Haran, and Macario, and then with Girma and Neiswanger mixed in on top of that, now you have all these different angles because Macario is such a genius passer herself and probably in the mix to kind of put her hand up. And I think Emma Hayes has felt this way about Macario. Hey, maybe I'm your number 10. Maybe I'm your central midfielder who stirs this whole drink. She's going to go either way. So now you have Sophie Smith attacking from the left. Julie Foudy did an awesome job of pointing out that there were a lot of like just overlapping runs and players just weaving around each other. We did not see that in the 2023 World Cup. This was miles ahead of that kind of attack, which is funny to say as Vlatko Andonovski coaches the most prolific offense in the NWSL. It's like, bro, where were you? Like, what were we doing back then?
I think we saw in the documentary. I don't think he had a ton of authority with regards to that team and what they were going to be out there running. It's like, all right, you could draw whatever you want on the whiteboard, but how about we do our own thing out here?
Yeah.
For whatever reason, I don't want to relitigate the past. That wasn't working.
It was not.
This looked like it could be a blueprint to be very, very difficult for some of these other teams to deal with, especially like you mentioned, Smith going one way, Swanson going the other, Macario looping around, Neiswanger looping around the other way, Rodman. It was a lot to deal with, and it's going to be a lot to deal with for some of these other teams. And to rewind back a little bit, I think that's kind of what makes the Alex Morgan piece tricky. I mean, I think you could absolutely make the case, she's got a huge role to play on this team, can contribute on the field, but just with those four, that's four minus Jaden Shaw. So if you talk about that number 10 spot, it's probably Macario or Shaw, right? For who's going to get most of the starting looks there. I mean, obviously, like these players are so versatile and so talented that who knows what MAs might cook up. But that's, from a layman standpoint, that's kind of what we might expect.
Yep.
And then you look at Morgan, it's like, is that what this team needs? Basically, if you have these first 14, 15, maybe 16 spots penciled in, now we're just kind of rounding out the edges and making sure we've got a well-rounded team here.
We talk about that. Can you come in and give us 20 minutes? Can you come in and give us 30 minutes role? I think there's another player in that mix that we should talk about, and that would be one Rose Lavelle, who came into this match in the 61st minute to give you that last 30, and that first 15 that she gave you. It's like every time you put Lavelle on the field, your opponent is just like, oh, Jesus, like she's running right at us as soon as she gets onto the pitch. We texted about it a little bit. I just absorbed it as, oh, there's Rose. She's here now. Like everybody's on the back foot for South Korea now because you have to chase her down because as soon as she gets the ball, she's going forward. What did you see from her?
Her and Mal Swanson have the same quality of elusiveness.
Yeah.
If you want to get hands on Lindsey Horan and get physical with her, you can.
Yeah.
If you want to get hands on Swanson or Lavelle, you can't.
You cannot.
She's so creative, so gifted, so electric on the ball, and her vision. The second Swanson goal, like the pass is like, what the fuck? Like world class. Like it just is what it is. And I mentioned in my notes Manu Ginobili for Rose Lavelle.
I love that.
In terms of like off the bench, very, very limmy, very long, tough to deal with, very creative, very unorthodox.
Yeah.
Manu was a lefty, which he was still fooling people, the year before he retired. People forgot he was left-handed. Lavelle the same. It's just like you take a false step and she's just cooking you the opposite direction and then passing an absolute dime back where you just were, just because like that space is now opened up. I don't care where she's at form-wise or stamina-wise. I just don't care. She makes brilliant plays. She can play kind of all over the field. She's just a menace.
Yeah.
She's the absolute perfect substitute just to say, hey, we're going to catch them off guard. And she's so good that you can, if you're Emma Hayes, you can like beat on a specific one-on-one duel over and over and over again, knowing that you're going to bring Lavelle in with 25 minutes, 30 minutes left in the match. And it's already going to be 2 or 3 really, really high quality chances just because you'll have worn down a specific part of the field.
That's such a great point. And on top of it, it works in both of the scenarios that you might be thinking about where you might be in a match against France or Spain. Maybe you're down one. Maybe you're ahead one. If you're ahead, as we saw in this Korea match, you can put her on and she's not going to turn the ball over, but she still creates that look. She helps you hold possession. Mm-hmm. She helps you do all the good stuff you want to do if you're ahead. And if you're behind and you need to inject some fresh energy, she's doing that too. You could put her in pretty much any situation. And like you said, create that look, create that kind of difference, create that kind of unorthodox shape that now the defense has to take because you don't know where she's going to run and you damn sure don't know where she's going to pass it.
Yeah.
And now she's just completely changed the geometry of the field for the last 1/3 of a match. And your opponents have to adjust to that.
Yeah. And then to bring it back to Foudy's point, you have all these runs weaving in and out. And you have Lavelle who can pick out anybody she wants, anytime she wants.
Yeah.
And if she needs a little space, she'll just create it. So I don't know. To me, we had her on our 18. I think she's got to be a lock to make the roster. I mean, you just see these flashes like, oh, I'd love to have that against Spain or France, just for 20 minutes, just to see what it looks like. And you just have so much trust in a player like that. A couple other players I wanted to hit real quick. Mal Swanson, obviously no World Cup for Swanson either.
Yeah.
What are you going to remember from the South Korea performance from Mallory Swanson?
I think that she's just continuing to round into better form. Like we have to remember, she's coming back from a devastating injury. Mm-hmm. We've talked about it throughout watching the NWSL. I think she has 3 goals and 2 assists. She's appeared in 10 of the Red Stars 11 matches. She's kind of helped that club get off to a really good start in the season. And I don't know if she's back to full Mal Swanson form yet.
Oh my God.
So I think a world exists, and I don't think we're far away from living in this world, where Mal Swanson is very much in the conversation of, is she the unquestioned number 9? Is she, at worst, one of the 3 most important players on the squad? I think we're headed that direction.
I 100% agree with that, man. I think she's I know we had her super early with regard to our roster draft just because of the finishing.
Yeah.
There's another area where the U.S. really struggled. You kind of rewind back to the World Cup. It's like needed that relatively low probability Lindsey Horan goal against the Netherlands just to even things up. And you even had to poke the bear a little bit just to get her fired up to be able to make that one happen. Right. But the scoring was just so few and far between. Obviously, they created a lot of shots against Sweden in a match they ultimately lost. But Swanson, you just trust her to find the back of the net. For as simple as that sounds, it's just like, give me 5 Swanson chances in a match, and I feel good that we're going to notch 1 or 2.
100%. Totally agree with that. And I like when we were talking Lavelle that you made the comp between Lavelle and Swanson. There was a point in yesterday's match where Swanson just carries the ball 40 yards. Mm-hmm. And I just go, oh, yeah. Yeah, that's what she does. Like, she had that play against the Reign in the NWSL where she carried the ball damn near 80 yards. Like, she just has that in her game. So it's like, I'll get the ball forward, but now with this interplay with Sophie Smith and kind of opening up her passing, and Swanson can pass it too now. So like, let's not forget about that part. She's not above giving you a back heel, leaving it off for Smith. We know her finishing prowess as well. So I think we're not far off. And it's going to be interesting. We don't have to worry about this for a while, unfortunately, because of injury. But we are going to be in for the me official Mallory Swanson. Who are we going to play at number 9? What do we need in that particular match? But while Fischel recovers, and we wish her a full and speedy recovery. Mm-hmm. But while she's out, I think Swanson, as Dino likes to say, put it in Sharpie. She's up top for the squad right now.
That's right. I agree with that. She just keeps getting better and better. And I think Trinity Rodman, I want to talk about her really quickly as well, just because I'm gonna pick on Sweden a little bit. Sweden's got good players, but they've got a style to them. Norway, they've got a style to them as well. Yeah. Italy, they've got a style to them as well. Trying to defend this U.S. team is like, you need to have every type of defender, just because when you think about, I told you, like Swanson, Lavelle, elusive. You cannot touch them. Yep. Smith, super quick, super creative. And now that she's passing, she's just a dual threat. She's just like a triple threat. Essentially, she could run, she could pass, she could shoot. Rodman is just a foul magnet. Yeah. She just is going to foul you out. It's basically like she turns everybody into Karl Anthony Towns. Like, she's just like, she's just unstoppable. And I think like I can see her making it very, very difficult for like a Battier or Irene Paredes or Olga Carmona. Like, I think, figure out who's on what side. But I'm always just kind of thinking about that Spain matchup, or even France, like an Elisa de Almeida, against a Trinity Rodman. It's going to be a long day. It's going to be a lot of warnings, maybe a card or two. That's just such a tremendous advantage. And I think trying to think about how to defend all these different players. And you have Kat Macario, who's like very calm, very chill, high IQ, super accurate. I mean, it's going to be tough. If this team puts it together, I mean, it's going to be interesting. We're going to have the favorite discussion at some point. Yeah. We're going to have a proper Olympics lead in. Oh, yeah. Where we get really cooking on all 12 teams. So stay tuned for that. Make sure you're subscribed. But maybe I'm overreacting a little bit. Maybe, the shirt's getting to me. It's a little tight. It's just constricting my oxygen here. But I think, man, just watching offensively, what kind of problems they're going to be able to create for these other teams is just very, very encouraging.
100%. I mean, I love Rodman's game so much. She had those moments, I mentioned it near the top of the show, when she needs to get to the end line, when she wants to get to the end line to serve in the cross, she is. You're not keeping up with her. And she gets to that right foot. She gets that little tap to get the ball over. Obviously with my bias, my allegiances in men's football, it's got some Jack Grealish to it, where it's like, you have to foul me because you can't keep up with me. Prime Jack Grealish. Not this year's Jack Grealish. I digress. We wouldn't disrespect you like that, Trinity. But then she does all that. And then there are just multiple moments in this match where she's just taking the ball from you in our defensive third, in the USA's defensive third. She's just all over the field. I just love everything about her game. She's pacey. Like you said, she's smart. She times the runs well. And she is unselfish enough to go back and say, yep, I am going to commit absolutely everything I have on the defensive end. And you got to love a winger like that. And I want to dismount with this because you jogged it in my mind. Trinity Rodman versus Olga Carmona. Trinity Rodman versus Elise de Almeida. Might be looking at some 90s Detroit Pistons basketball in some of those matchups, buddy. It might get a little physical, I think.
I think so. It's interesting because Rodman likes to, chatter with the refs a little bit. She's got a little bit of Luca to her game, or a little bit of Draymond maybe to her game, which I love. She's obviously got the NBA DNA. But I mean, I'm also kind of just jazzed about the free kicks. Imagine this too. She's getting fouled in the attacking third. Now all those fouls become Kat Macario free kicks. That's going to be a little bit more potent, I think, than we're used to seeing. So those become a lot more valuable, in addition to just causing headaches, for the defense and for the defensive game plan.
Yep.
Obviously, these two teams lock up again on Tuesday, June 4th. What are you going to be looking for when these teams run it back?
Lily Johannes. Oh, wait. Did I say, whoa, was that too fast? Yeah, Emma, put her in the game. Like, I want to see Johannes play. Yeah, just put her in the game. We're probably going to win. No disrespect to South Korea. I feel like we haven't talked a lot about, I don't feel like we haven't talked a lot about South Korea. I am fully aware that we have not mentioned South Korea at all. I thought their low block looked good early. I thought they held up pretty well. I mean, 30 minutes, I thought they were able to get some key interceptions. Really cool to see Casey Fair out there for South Korea. Quick digression on South Korea, if you don't mind. Julie Foudy mentioned it. I had read it before the match. I was completely unaware of this. Casey Fair is the first biracial player to play for the South Korean national team. I think she was born in Jersey. So, great moment for her. Good young player. I think she's only 16. Casey Fair's 16 years old playing for Angel City.
Very cool.
Very cool to see that for South Korea. But, hard to run with us, hard to run with the USA on their home soil. But back to what you're saying, I want to see Johannes in the game to see how she's going to look in this kind of international play with our players. We got her on the roster. That's step one. Step two is to make sure she's comfortable in training. I haven't heard any reports otherwise. And now step three, put her in the match, please. Even if you give her 20 at the end of the match, I think it would be worth seeing. Again, not to question Emma Hayes. I think she knows quite a bit more about football than I do, but come on.
I mean, no arguments here, man. I think she would fit extremely well also kind of in that, maybe more like the defensive posture, kind of midfield section. She's just such a big, physical, smart player, and she's used to getting the ball and moving it. So you imagine, Gurma finding Lily in the middle of the park, quick head on a swivel, and now the ball's all, now we're in the attacking third in 2.3 seconds flat.
Yeah.
We need to see this because, what if it's incredible? That's the other part. This is not essentially Christian Leitner on the '92 Dream Team, where it's just you already know that this is here. We're just having some fun with this 12 spot.
Right.
This is a player that absolutely can contribute. We talked about her contributions in the Champions League. She was right up there in terms of creating offense, passing, pass accuracy, just general positive play with the Kat Macarios, with the Lindsey Horans, with the Corbin Alberts, with the Eva Gaitinos, all those American players that are playing in Europe. Yeah. Emily Fox, she's on that level. She just happens to be 16 years old. So I couldn't agree with you more. We have to see 10, 15, 20 minutes of what this looks like and give Lily a chance to actually, kick off her USWNT career. Yeah. Can we say that? Yeah. Even though there's some cap-tied mechanics to this, but I don't know. Let's kick it off already. Let's go.
Yeah, exactly. I think this is the time to start getting some information. But as I say that, I do recognize that Emma Hayes would look at us and be like, all right, boys, maybe settle down. I'm getting plenty of information from these training sessions. I know what I'm talking about here. But yeah, Emma, think about us. What about us? We would like to see her play in the matches. So that's I'll make the very professional and polite plea. Come on, just put Lily in the match. That's as far as I'll go with it, I think.
Listen, training is one thing, but the great Allen Iverson said it best. Talk about practice.
Practice?
Not a game. Not a game. Talking about practice. Let's see it in the game. If Allen Iverson said it, I'm with it. You already know what time it is.
It's gospel. Well, most stuff. Let's not tie ourselves to all that.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah. Nobody shoots 100% from the field.
That's right.
Anything else you want to hit on USA South Korea before we get out of here?
I think we largely covered it. I think the other piece I might want to see is, we have Hal Hirschfeld on the squad.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see her get some minutes too. Hopefully that's what this second match is for. If we don't get to see Croy Bethune play in this squad, which is another potential number 10 that we're going to have to figure out a way to get onto the pitch at some point, who's going to just play her way onto the field, we might as well see Hirschfeld as well. And then the other thing, I wouldn't be surprised. Let me put my take chip on the prediction. We'll probably see Casey Murphy in the next match in goal.
I could see
Jane
that.
Campbell played well. She had a couple moments where you would have probably liked her to hold the ball instead of kind of knocking it away the way she did. You feel confident about your two backup goalkeepers with Nair out between Campbell and Murphy. I think you have some good options there, but I wouldn't be surprised if you see Casey Murphy in this next one.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. Like we mentioned, this next matchup with South Korea going down Tuesday night. We'll be back midweek recapping that one. We're warming up too. We're in training. We're in practice. We're running around getting ready for Paris in July. So we will be back midweek to break down that second match. In the meantime, though, I want to cross the pond, head over to Europe, talk a little Euro qualifiers.